When we think of the Renaissance, we often think of Florence, the Medici, Michelangelo, the Duomo. But there was another city equally remarkable, though less often celebrated. In the heart of the Adriatic Sea, a city rose from the waters, built on wooden pilings driven deep into lagoon mud. Renaissance Venice became one of the most remarkable civilizations in human history, a place where art flourished, secrets were kept, and innovation transformed the world. These are 20 facts about Venice during the Renaissance. Number 1. Venice used floating foundations to build stone palaces. The city was built on a lagoon, where solid ground was nothing more than mud and silt. Yet Venetian engineers found a solution. They drove millions of wooden piles deep into the sediment, creating stable foundations beneath the water. On top of these submerged forests of wood, they built magnificent stone palaces and churches. These wooden pilings, preserved by the oxygen-poor water, still hold Venice upright today, more than 500 years later, an engineering marvel built on faith, ingenuity, and timber. 2. Venice was one of Europe's richest cities. At its height during the Renaissance, Venice commanded wealth that rivaled empires. The city controlled vast trade networks stretching across the Mediterranean and beyond, connecting Europe to the riches of the East. Spices, silks, gems, and knowledge flowed through Venetian ports. Merchant families grew fabulously wealthy, building palaces along the Grand Canal. The city's prosperity was visible in every gilded facade, every marble column, every painting that adorned its walls. Venice was not just rich in gold, but in culture, power, and influence that shaped the known world. 3. Venice was a global center of naval engineering. The source of Venice's power was its mastery of the sea. The city became a global center of naval engineering, developing revolutionary shipbuilding techniques that gave it dominance over Mediterranean waters. At the heart of this innovation was the Arsenale di Venezia, a vast complex that functioned like an early industrial operation. Workers specialized in specific tasks, moving ships through various stages of construction in a coordinated sequence. This assembly line approach, centuries before the Industrial Revolution, allowed Venice to produce warships at a scale and speed no rival could match. The Arsenale was not just a shipyard, it was the engine of an empire. Number 4. The Venetian arsenal could build a warship in one day. Foreign visitors to Venice were often brought to the arsenal to witness something extraordinary. Contemporary accounts claim that a fully equipped galley could be assembled in just 24 hours, from bare hull to armed warship in a single day. This feat shocked diplomats and rivals alike, demonstrating Venice's industrial capability and military readiness. The speed was made possible by prefabricated parts, standardized components, and hundreds of skilled workers operating in perfect coordination. It was a display of power as much as efficiency. A reminder that Venice could build a fleet faster than anyone could destroy it. 5. Venice had one of Europe's most sophisticated banking systems. Venice's empire was built not only on ships and soldiers, but on credit and capital. The city pioneered some of Europe's most sophisticated banking systems, allowing merchants to fund massive overseas ventures without the risk of transporting physical gold. Public banks, letters of credit, and complex financial instruments enabled trade on an unprecedented scale. Venetian bankers became experts in currency exchange, maritime insurance, and international finance. This invisible network of trust and transactions was as crucial to Venice's dominance as its navy. Money, like water, flowed through Venice, connecting distant markets and making the impossible possible. Number 6. Venice developed highly specialized cartographers. Knowledge was power, and Venice understood this better than most. The city trained specialized cartographers who produced some of the most accurate nautical charts and maps of the Renaissance. These maps were essential for trade, warfare, and exploration. guiding Venetian ships safely through dangerous waters and revealing new routes to distant lands. The precision of Venetian maps gave merchants and admirals a crucial advantage. Geography became strategy. A well-drawn coastline could mean the difference between fortune and disaster. Venice did not just navigate the world, it drew the world and controlled how others saw it. Number 7. Venice was one of Europe's printing capitals. By the late 15th century, Venice had become one of Europe's leading centers of book production. The city's printers, most famously Aldus Manutius, revolutionized how knowledge spread across the continent. Manutius created small, affordable books that could be easily carried and read, democratizing access to literature and learning. He also introduced italic type, a design still used today. Venice's printing houses produced works in Latin, Greek, Italian, and other languages, making the city a hub of intellectual exchange. In Venice, ideas moved as freely as goods, and books became another form of currency in the marketplace of knowledge. 8. Glassmaking was a state secret. On the island of Murano, Venetian glassmakers perfected techniques that produced crystal-clear glass unmatched anywhere in Europe. These artisans were celebrated, but also controlled. The Venetian state declared glassmaking a protected secret, and craftsmen were forbidden to leave the Republic. Those who attempted to flee and share their knowledge faced severe consequences. Foreign powers tried espionage, offering bribes and refuge to lure glassmakers away. But Venice guarded its secrets closely. The shimmering glass of Murano was more than art. It was a monopoly, a treasure, and a matter of state security. Number 9. Venice was built for espionage. Venice's physical layout made it a natural stage for secrecy. Dense alleys twisted through neighborhoods, canals provided hidden routes, and concealed passageways connected buildings in unexpected ways. This labyrinth was ideal for covert meetings, secret diplomacy, and espionage. During wars with rival states, Venice became a city of whispers and shadows. Spies moved through the streets, gathering intelligence and protecting Venetian interests. The architecture itself seemed designed for intrigue. In Venice, you were never quite sure who might be watching or listening, just around the corner. 10. Venice spied on its own citizens. The most feared institution in Venice was the Council of Ten, a secretive body tasked with protecting the state from internal threats. The council employed informants throughout the city, encouraging citizens to report corruption, treason, and disloyalty. Anonymous accusations could be dropped into stone lion mouths scattered across Venice, carved slots where denunciations disappeared into the machinery of justice. This system kept the Republic stable, but it also created an atmosphere of suspicion. Neighbors watched neighbors. Loyalty was tested constantly. Venice maintained order through power visible and invisible, and the Council of Ten saw everything. Number 11. Venice produced some of the greatest painters in history. Renaissance Venice gave the world some of its most luminous artists. Titian, Giorgione, Bellini. These masters transformed painting with their revolutionary use of color and light. Venetian painters worked in rich, vibrant tones, capturing the glow of sunlight on water, the shimmer of silk, the warmth of human skin. Their works were sensual, dramatic, and deeply emotional. These artists did not simply record what they saw, they reimagined reality, bending light and color to create something transcendent. Venetian painting was a celebration of beauty, and it changed Western art forever. 12. Venice changed how paintings were made. The humid climate of Venice posed a challenge for artists. Traditional fresco painting, applied directly to wet plaster on walls, did not survive well in the damp air. So Venetian painters pioneered a different approach. They embraced oil painting on canvas, a technique that allowed for deeper, richer colors and greater flexibility. Artists were international celebrities. Venetian artists were not merely craftsmen, they were celebrities, sought after by the most powerful figures in Europe. Titian worked for emperors, popes, and kings, traveling across the continent to paint portraits of the elite. His reputation was such that monarchs competed for his attention. Venetian art became a luxury export, a symbol of taste and power. Owning a painting by a Venetian master was a statement. These artists shaped how royalty saw themselves, how they wished to be remembered. In Venice, art was not just culture, it was diplomacy, prestige, and power made visible. Venice used art as political propaganda. Art in Venice served the state as much as it served beauty. Massive paintings adorned the walls of the Doge's palace, depicting glorious Venetian victories, divine interventions, and the wisdom of the Republic's leaders. These works were carefully designed to reinforce the myth of Venetian greatness, to remind citizens and visitors alike of the city's power and destiny. Art was a tool of control, shaping how people understood their place in the world. 15. Venice turned war booty into art. When Venice conquered its enemies, it did not simply take their wealth, it took their history. Captured cannons were melted down and recast. Stolen columns and sculptures were incorporated into Venetian buildings. Treasures from fallen cities became permanent decorations, transforming military victory into architectural triumph. These repurposed objects were constant reminders of Venice's dominance. Every looted artifact told a story of defeat and conquest. Venice did not just defeat its rivals, it absorbed them, turning their memory into monuments to Venetian power. Number 16. Courtesans played a major role in Venetian society. In Renaissance Venice, courtesans occupied a unique place in society. Unlike common companions, elite courtesans were highly educated women, skilled in music, poetry, and conversation. They moved through the highest levels of Venetian society, attending salons, corresponding with intellectuals, and even appearing in paintings. Some published poetry of their own. These women wielded influence in a world that otherwise denied them power. They were controversial, admired, and often essential to the social fabric of Venice. Number 17. Masks allowed Venetians to break social rules. Masks in Venice were not just for carnival. They were worn throughout much of the year, allowing citizens to move through the city in anonymity. Behind a mask, a noble could gamble in public without shame, and a merchant could attend scandalous gatherings. Social hierarchies blurred. The mask granted freedom and secrecy in equal measure. It was liberating and dangerous. Venice thrived on this ambiguity, where identity could be hidden and rules could be bent. Venice marketed itself as the most serene republic. Venice carefully cultivated an image of itself as La Serenissima, the most serene republic. Through grand ceremonies, monumental architecture, and strategic use of art, the city projected an aura of divine order, stability, and harmony. Every public ritual reinforced the idea that Venice was blessed, chosen by Providence to endure. This was state branding long before the concept existed. Venice understood that power was not only about military strength or wealth, but about perception. The image of serenity masked a reality of political intrigue, espionage, and strict control. But the image endured, and it worked. Number 19. Venice survived repeated plague outbreaks. During the Renaissance, Venice was struck repeatedly by the Black Death. The plague arrived on ships from distant ports, spreading quickly through the crowded city. Thousands died in each outbreak, their bodies transported through the canals for mass burial. The disease showed no mercy, killing rich and poor alike. Streets emptied and commerce halted. Entire neighborhoods were abandoned as families fled or perished. The city lived under the constant shadow of death, never knowing when the next outbreak would arrive. Yet, somehow, through quarantine, isolation, and sheer determination, Venice endured when other cities collapsed entirely. Number 20. Venice invented the world's first quarantine system. Faced with repeated plague outbreaks, Venice created a solution that would change public health forever. Ships suspected of carrying disease were isolated for 40 days, a period called 40 giorni in Italian. This was the world's first organized quarantine system. Sailors and cargo were held offshore, preventing contagion from spreading into the city. The practice proved effective, and other cities adopted the Venetian model. Today, quarantine remains a cornerstone of global public health policy. From a city built on water, fighting an invisible enemy, came an idea that still protects the world. Venice's legacy endures, not just in art or architecture, but in the systems that keep us safe. Venice was a contradiction, a city built on impossibility, a republic that ruled through secrecy and spectacle, a place where beauty and power were inseparable. It rose from the water through human ingenuity, and for centuries it shaped the course of history. Today, Venice remains a monument to what ambition and imagination can achieve. The tides still rise and fall, just as they did 500 years ago, and the city endures.